Leo, my radiant soul. If you found yourself here today, it's not by accident, it's a cosmic appointment. Welcome, brave heart of the zodiac. Welcome to eternal mindfulness, a sacred space where your spirit meets divine timing. You didn't stumble upon this video by chance. The universe guided you here for a reason, and your higher self already knows why. Let me ask you something, Leo. Have you been feeling unusually tired, as if the brightness within you is flickering behind a curtain you can't quite pull back? Have your dreams felt heavy, strange, or even interrupted by a restless sense that something just isn't right? Here's what no one's told you yet and what you've likely felt but couldn't explain. There is a hidden energy beneath your bed, an invisible force that is not just disrupting your rest, it's silently draining your luck. The glow that once defined you, the fire that made you unstoppable, is being sapped by something left unchecked in your most sacred space. This isn't superstition. This isn't drama. This is energy, and Leo, you are deeply connected to it. Your bed, your room, your inner temple, they reflect what you carry in your field. And right now, what's hiding under your bed is no longer dormant. It's awakening. And it's feeding. But you? You were born to rule your realm, not to be ruled by it. In today's reading, we'll uncover what this force truly is. Why it was able to enter your space. What it's doing to your sleep, your mood, your confidence, and most importantly, how you can reclaim every ounce of luck and life it's been stealing from you without your permission. Because make no mistake, you are not powerless here. You never have been. From the lens of mindful awareness, from the whispers of Buddhist truth, we know that every obstacle is also a mirror and every disturbance, a doorway. This is not a punishment. It's a call to consciousness. And Leo, I see you not as broken, not as lost, but as a luminous being who's finally ready to rise again. You've been dimming your light to keep the peace, to not disturb the energy around you. But now is the time to disturb the energy that doesn't serve your highest path. Take a deep breath. Let it settle into your body. If you're feeling the pull, the resonance, that unmistakable inner signal that this message was meant for you, then please, leave a comment below and affirm it out loud. I call my light back. I reclaim the power that was always mine. Let this be your first declaration. Let this be the moment your soul answers back. And before we dive in, let me take a quiet moment to express my deepest gratitude for your presence. Every like, every comment, every subscription brings you deeper into the heart of this growing community we're building together. Thank you sincerely for choosing to be here. For choosing your healing. And trust me, beloved Leo, you'll want to stay with me until the very last second of today's message. Because what the universe is about to reveal is nothing short of breathtaking. Now tell me, my fierce and loyal Leo, what brought you here today? When it comes to Leo, the bed is never just a bed. For someone born under the sign ruled by the sun, the eternal symbol of vitality, radiance, and divine purpose, the space in which you sleep is far more than a place to rest. It is your inner sanctuary, your unseen throne. It is where your spirit lays bare, where your subconscious meets the silence of night, and where your energy either renews or unravels. And if lately you've been waking up tired, feeling unrest despite full hours of sleep, or sensing a strange heaviness in the air even though your space is spotless, know that this is not your imagination, nor is it just stress. something is stirring beneath the surface. Something subtle, but impactful. The bed is intimately linked to your root, not just your root chakra in energetic terms, but your psychological foundation, your sense of inner safety. And beneath your bed, both literally and symbolically, lies the energy you haven't faced. Dust and clutter may seem harmless, but energetically, they can represent stored memories, unresolved emotions, or vibrations from others that have silently taken root. What lives there isn't always visible. It may be the unspoken judgment from someone close, the lingering presence of a visitor with heavy emotions, or a forgotten item tied to a part of you that no longer resonates. Without you realizing it, these silent guests take up space in your auric field. And in the case of Leo, who thrives on clarity, praise, and movement toward purpose, even a slight energetic fog can feel like a deep identity crisis. Astrology reminds us that Leo is ruled by the fifth house, the house of creative expression, joy, and personal power. Your aura is meant to extend outward like sunlight. But when unseen energies collect at your base, they weigh down your fire, make you second-guess your worth, and dull the spark that usually ignites everything you touch. You begin to dim not because you've changed, but because something is blocking your access to the source within. You may start feeling uninspired, overly emotional, or disconnected from your usual charisma. These are not flaws in you, they are signs that your energy field is overburdened, and it's time to clear it with intention. Cosmic timing is everything. In numerology, 111 is not just a number, it's a portal. A signal from the invisible realms that your soul is ready to realign with its original frequency. It marks a moment to affirm your identity, to remember what you've forgotten about yourself, and to step into a more luminous, focused path. If you've been seeing this sequence or waking up around 111 or 333, these are more than coincidences, they are invitations. Invitations to return to your center, to create space within so your power can rise again unfiltered. There's a teaching that suggests everything in your external world mirrors the patterns of your inner world. So when the air in your room feels tight, or the dreams turn strange, it might be a reflection of energetic guests that were never truly welcomed. Not spirits, not hauntings, but impressions of pain, of loss, of others' projections. The beauty is, once you see it, you can shift it. You don't need complex rituals or external validation. You only need to be present, to take the small but sacred actions that invite clarity, like sweeping, clearing, setting new intention, not as a chore, but as an act of remembrance. Leo, you are not meant to feel small in your own home, especially not in the space meant to restore you. So if you felt out of touch with yourself, if the glow around you feels muted, maybe just maybe something underneath you is asking to be acknowledged. And when you do, you're not just cleaning a room. You're reclaiming your rightful throne. There are times when what drains us most isn't loud or visible, it's what lingers quietly in the background, disguised as memory, nostalgia, or habit. And for someone like you, Leo, someone born to shine with unapologetic presence, these invisible weights can become particularly suffocating. You carry yourself with a natural radiance, a sense of identity shaped by courage and clarity. But even the brightest flame can be dimmed, not by lack of power, but by what surrounds it. In this part of your journey, we begin to see that what's pulling at your confidence isn't coming from within you, it's coming from what you've chosen to keep close, perhaps without even realizing the cost. When the Strength card appears, it's not just calling on your bravery, it's reminding you that your truest power lies in your quiet awareness. The lion on that card isn't roaring, it's being tamed by stillness. And paired with the Ten of Wands, the message becomes unmistakable. You've been carrying burdens that were never yours to begin with. This isn't about physical labor, it's about emotional weight. The kind that builds up in small ways. The kind that accumulates through objects, memories, unsaid words, and unfinished emotions. It hides under your bed, in the corners of your room, in the drawers you haven't opened in months, waiting for the right moment to be noticed. We often keep things for emotional reasons. A gift from someone we no longer speak to. A piece of clothing that reminds us of a different version of ourselves. A letter, a token, a photograph, all filled with meaning that once served us, but may now be holding us in a past that no longer fits. From the perspective of energetic law, every object carries vibration. And if that vibration is tied to grief, betrayal, fear, or loss, then keeping it is not a tribute, it's an anchor. Instead of helping us move forward, it traps us in a cycle where our energy begins to loop in the past, quietly draining our capacity to meet the present with full vitality. This is where the law of attraction becomes more than a trendy phrase, it becomes practical. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you align with. And if your space is aligned with memories of pain, stagnation, or self-doubt, then what echoes into your daily life may feel strangely familiar: repeated struggles, blocked inspiration, low motivation. It's not punishment. It's pattern. And once seen, it can be interrupted not with force, but with clarity and choice. There's a quiet teaching that says when you release something fully, not just physically, but emotionally, you clear a space for life to enter you anew. Letting go isn't rejection. It's recognition. That what once helped you survive, or helped you feel connected, no longer needs to live in your energetic field. What you're keeping in your space, Leo, might be whispering to you every night as you sleep. Not in words, but in tension. In resistance. In those subtle feelings that you've outgrown who you once were, yet haven't fully claimed who you're becoming. Ask yourself with kindness, not judgment, am I still sleeping beside an emotion that expired long ago? Am I making space for the person I am now, or am I preserving a version of me that was only meant to be temporary? Your courage isn't in pretending everything's okay. It's in your ability to look closely, to feel truthfully, and to choose release not as an escape, but as an act of self-honoring. Because sometimes, the most profound transformation begins not with a leap forward, but with a quiet clearing of what never truly belonged to you. Sometimes the most powerful way to reclaim our strength is not by striving harder, but by creating the conditions for our own return. Leo, your energy is fire, not the kind that burns to destroy, but the kind that warms, inspires, and illuminates. And yet, even the most radiant flame needs a clean space to burn freely. In the last part of our journey, we uncovered how your confidence may have been quietly siphoned by the subtle presence of past energy lingering in your personal space. This next part is not about fear, it's about remembering. It's about action, but action with purpose. Rituals, when done with awareness, can serve as bridges between intention and embodiment. They give the heart a language. They help the body understand that change has begun. Cleaning beneath your bed might seem simple, almost too simple. But energetically, it's a form of bowing to the foundation of your being. The ground beneath you is the base of your nervous system, your unconscious mind, your belonging. Placing your hand there and speaking aloud, "This space belongs to light. There is no room for shadow here, is not about chasing darkness away, but about affirming your clarity. And clarity, Leo, is your true throne. It is what allows your presence to command attention without needing to shout. It's the calm confidence that builds when you stop doubting what you already know. Placing sea salt and clean water in a bowl beneath your bed is an act rooted in ancient knowledge, that water holds memory, and salt holds form. Together, they absorb. Not as superstition, but as symbolism. The impurities we carry, emotional residues, the mental fog, the stress we can't name, they cling to our environment, and this simple practice gives those energies somewhere to go. 3 nights. Not rushed. Not skipped. A quiet contract with your own healing process. Lighting a candle orange for creativity, gold for power, and scenting the air with lemongrass isn't about aesthetics. It's about reminding your body of warmth, of joy, of what it feels like to live from the heart, not the habit. Scent bypasses the analytical mind. Flame speaks to the inner animal. When you light that space, you're lighting a part of yourself that may have gone dim, not from failure, but from neglect. Symbols matter. A sunstone, a protective talisman, even a personal note from your wiser self, when placed in a corner with care, they become anchors for your intention. They act like lighthouses within your space, subtle but steady, reminding you what you're returning to. This is not a performance. It's a homecoming. And then there is the letter. This may be the most sacred act of all, writing to the self you once were. The one who endured, who held pain quietly, who didn't yet know how to let go. You're not writing to fix that version of you, but to release them. To say, I forgive. I've learned. I'm ready to return. That letter becomes more than ink on paper. It becomes the bridge between chapters. And when you burn it and release its ashes to the wind, you are performing not a spell, but a release, a soft and final letting go of everything that no longer serves your becoming. Just as a lion rises from sleep with quiet command, so too can you rise, not because you forced your return, but because you cleared the space for it. Your throne, Leo, was never gone. It was simply waiting for you to sit back down. As we continue this journey inward, Leo, it becomes clear that healing is not a single destination, it's a rebalancing of the elements within you. Like the sun that governs your sign, you are meant to touch every part of life with warmth and presence. But even the sun must move through cycles, through dawn and dusk, through intensity and rest. And now is the moment to pause and re-examine the 4 pillars that hold up your personal universe: the body, the mind, your relationship with abundance, and your ability to give and receive love. When even one of these begins to tilt, the whole structure within can start to wobble. Rebalancing doesn't mean perfection, it means listening closely to what each part of you is trying to say. Let's begin with the body, your vessel, your first home. If your energy has been low, if sleep no longer feels restorative, you may not need more hours, you may need more presence. Often, shallow sleep is not just physical exhaustion but emotional accumulation. When the heart center is burdened by stress, grief, or the weight of unspoken feelings, it blocks the natural rhythm of rest. This isn't a flaw. It's the body doing its best to protect what hasn't yet been released. One of the gentlest ways to begin restoring your flow is through the breath. Placing a hand on your chest and breathing into the space behind it for even 3 quiet minutes in the morning reminds your nervous system that it is safe to open again. Pair that with warm ginger water or a few moments of sun salutation, and you're not just moving, you're returning. In your career, the fire may feel dimmed lately, not because your path has lost meaning, but because you've been pouring from a cup that hasn't been refilled. For someone ruled by fire, passion is oxygen. But when we forget to acknowledge our own growth, we start chasing goals that no longer reflect who we've become. A simple practice: write down 3 things each day that make you proud, not just of what you've done, but of who you've had to be to get through what you did. This reawakens your inner flame. It reminds you of your capacity, of the light that's still alive in you even when the world has gone quiet. When it comes to finances, Leo, you're generous by nature. Giving is in your essence. But generosity must be rooted in stability, not in avoidance. Emotional spending often emerges when we're trying to fill a space inside us, a space that can only truly be filled by attention, not acquisition. Start small. Place a note in your wallet with the words, "Money flows to me like sunlight follows the dawn." It's not magic. It's alignment. When your financial choices are made from clarity instead of emotional urgency, your energy expands instead of contracts. And finally, the heart. Relationships may be shifting now. Maybe you feel unseen in a connection that once felt intimate. Maybe you've been silencing your needs in the name of keeping peace. Or maybe you've been single for a while, afraid to show how deeply you still believe in love. But Leo, love is your language. And hiding your heart never protects it, it only isolates it. If you're in a relationship, speak what you've been swallowing. True connection is built on truth, not performance. If you're alone, let your vulnerability breathe. Tell the universe what you're ready to feel again. Your heart was made to give, yes, but also to receive. Balance isn't about doing everything at once. It's about tending to what's been left waiting. And when you do, life starts responding differently. Because when your inner world feels whole, the outer world begins to mirror that peace. There are moments in life when the heaviness we feel isn't rooted in our own choices or emotions, but in the silent, unspoken exchanges happening around us. Energy, like thought, moves without needing permission. And sometimes, it lingers where kindness was withheld or where someone's smile did not match their intentions. Leo, you are no stranger to being watched. Your presence is magnetic, your fire impossible to ignore. But not every gaze admires. Not every presence celebrates your rise. And sometimes, those who are closest to us carry silent judgments, unresolved envy, or projections they cannot name, yet they still leave traces in our field. The signs are subtle. One day you feel powerful, centered, and the next, suddenly unsure without clear reason. The sharp dip in confidence. The unpredictable mood swings. The way your emotional resilience seems thinner than usual, like your boundaries are fraying without a visible source. You may notice a strange shift in your space, a scent that doesn't belong, a flicker of light that feels unnatural, an edge in the air that wasn't there before. These are not random. They are signals. And though we may not always see the source, we can still choose how we respond to it. Just as the body has an immune system to fight off what doesn't belong, your energetic field does too, but only when you activate it with intention. When someone projects onto you, knowingly or not, that energy looks for the nearest space to rest. Often, that space is your home. Your room. The places you consider safe. And the reason it settles there is not because you are weak, it's because you are open. You care. You share. You give. But Leo, not everyone who takes from your fire knows how to honor its warmth. Some are drawn to your light not to celebrate it, but to stand in it until you are the one left in shadow. This is why simple rituals matter. Placing salt and garlic in the corners of your room may seem symbolic, and it is, but symbols carry power when they're fueled by clarity. Salt purifies, garlic protects, and more importantly, your spoken word shapes reality. Saying, "I do not hold what isn't mine," is not just a sentence, it is a threshold. It is the moment your energy stops passively absorbing and starts actively discerning. Because your field does not need to be a sponge for the unresolved pain of others. It can be a mirror. It can be a shield. It can be a clear space where only what serves your path is allowed to stay. There is a quiet truth, often overlooked. Giving without discernment does not make you noble, it makes you drained. The teaching here is not to close your heart, but to refine your offerings. To learn the difference between generosity and self-abandonment. Between compassion and enabling. When you give to those who do not value the gift, you are not helping them grow, you are simply teaching yourself to accept less. And Leo, you were not born to dim your light for the comfort of those who fear their own. Now is the time to review who stands beside you. Who uplifts you when you rise? Who celebrates without needing to be part of your spotlight? And who, quietly, resents what they cannot control in you? This awareness does not require confrontation. It only asks for honesty. The kind of honesty that creates energetic closure without drama. By placing intention in your space, claiming your right to sovereignty, and choosing where your energy flows, you shift everything. You don't need to change them. You only need to remember who you are and stop apologizing for it. Leo, if you've made it to this point in the video, then something deep within you has already begun to shift. Not because of my words, but because your soul is remembering its own rhythm. You didn't come here to be reminded of your weakness. You came to reclaim your strength. And not the kind that shouts to be seen, but the quiet, anchored kind that comes from knowing who you are when no one is watching. Maybe you didn't realize how much of your light had been covered. Maybe you didn't notice how long you've been carrying energy that doesn't belong to you. Or maybe you've known all along, but today, you finally said, enough. What would happen if you gave yourself full permission to return to your throne, without apology? What would change if, instead of shrinking for others' comfort, you expanded into the fullness of your voice, your presence, your truth? Would your decisions look different? Would your mornings feel lighter? Would your room, your bed, your body, your heart finally feel like yours again? These aren't questions to rush through. They're invitations. You're not just listening to a horoscope. You're standing at the doorway of your own awareness. And what you do next, that's where everything shifts. You've already cleared space beneath your bed, written to your past self, spoken out loud your right to protect your energy. But the rituals are not magic in themselves, they're mirrors. They show you that when you move with intention, life listens. There's a wisdom that says, as within, so without. When your inner world becomes a place of clarity, your outer world responds in kind. The clutter begins to fall away. The noise quiets. The people who only stayed for the version of you that played small begin to drift, and the ones who match your light start to arrive. You don't have to chase anything. You only have to choose. So, Leo, let me ask you now, what are you choosing today? Are you choosing your fire, or your fear? Are you ready to stop waiting for permission and begin building a life that reflects the truth you've uncovered here? If you feel that answer rising in you, if you feel that pull in your chest or that tingle along your skin, then declare it out loud. In the comments below, write, "I choose the light. I choose to return." Not just for me. For you. For the version of yourself that has waited patiently for your return. And if something in this message moved you, even quietly, even in the smallest way, share this video with someone who might be silently going through what you just faced. Your story could be the signal they need to start their own return. Before we part ways today, let me take a moment to thank you truly for being here. For your open heart. For your willingness to look inward. Every like, every comment, every subscription helps expand this sacred space we're building here at Eternal Mindfulness and allows messages like this to reach the souls that need them most. Your support fuels this channel. Your presence gives it meaning. And Leo, trust me, you will want to stay connected. Because the journey ahead is just beginning. Each week, we go deeper. We grow braver. We remember more. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next step in your personal awakening. Until then, be kind to your light. Be loyal to your truth. And never forget the crown was never gone. You simply forgot you were born to wear it.